Um ativista social e um homem que percorre o mundo inteiro, um web designer, um homem das plataformas e que tem vindo a trabalhar nos últimos anos em cidadania ativa, em mobilidade de cidadãos. Tem uma larga experiência para nos apresentar um estudo de caso de Reykjavíc, e é nesse sentido que agora o vamos ouvir atentamente, até porque é um homem que tem um currículo e tem uma história muito interessante que certamente depois poderão conhecê-la em maior pormenor. Gunnar, let's go.
I'm sorry I don't speak Portuguese, so I will try to keep to my English. We're first going to show a few minutes of a very good documentary made by one of your countrymen, Miguel Marquez. And we're just going to show the first 5 minutes or so, and then I will start my presentation. I think it's a very good introduction to why we are doing what we have been doing and why I'm here.
I can speak for Iceland, and I absolutely think the system like it is here today has nothing to do with democracy. The country is controlled by political parties, and they have their own agenda, which has not very much to do with the good of the general public, which democracy should be about.
The way we have done democracy up till now, that system simply doesn't have the legitimacy it had before the crash.
After the financial collapse of 2008, there was a very strong social upheaval. There was a very strong feeling that we were somehow at the end of a regime. Instead of responding with anger and going to protests and making a lot of noise, there were also very many people that were thinking that, you know, we don't need protest or anything to bring this system down. It's collapsing on its own. What we need to think about is, what are we going to do next?
And I think it's a really good text. But now it's in the hands of the parliamentarians, and it's very important that we will help each other to do one thing, which is very, very, very seriously important. And I'm going to allow myself to be completely sincere, because this is seriously important.
The university in Iceland failed massively. I was in university when everything crashed, studying law. And I was being taught by some teachers how to evade taxation, you know. Teaching little lawyers how not to pay tax was happening in our university. And the university is paid by taxpayers' money. There were people that tried to speak out to say, listen, we're going here in the wrong direction, but they were laughed at, and they were ridiculed, and they were not listened to.
I think education is somewhat overestimated. And it was also in this constitution, most of us were very educated. I would have preferred to see maybe nurses or taxi drivers or sailors. More of people who are working in the ground, because most of the nations are working on the ground.
There is a war between the people who own the world, the people who control the world, and the rest of the people, the masses, the people that in some cases feel like they have nothing, they have no say in anything.
I'm a member of the Parliamentary Assembly to NATO, And in my committee on last session, there was a report on cybercrime, and it was based on WikiLeaks and Anonymous and various other threats. After the report was introduced, the person responsible for it said that they had drawn the line where cyber crimes or warfare would be considered an act of war, so they could send in the real world war up against it. And I asked, where is this line? And they said, we don't want to tell, because those that want to use the internet for that sort of purposes will go to the boundaries of this line that we have.
Okay, so yeah, this was a film about the Icelandic, what has been called the pots and pans revolution. The biggest effect of that actually was not anything that came directly out of it, but that so many Icelanders realized that our society was not the democratic society that many of us thought it was. And I actually have to quote a friend of mine that said to me after the crash, he said, Gunnar, I always thought you were so paranoid, but now I realized you weren't paranoid enough. Because I was warning, with other people, I was warning people that things were not what they looked like. Anyway, I'm from the Citizens Foundation. I've resigned as CEO because I have started working with the Pirate Party in Iceland on an executive level, not as a politician. But I'm still ambassador for the Citizens Foundation. That is, I work abroad, but I do very little or any work in Iceland anymore. And this is our vision. We believe that in order to have a good society, citizens must have a strong voice in societal decisions. And we have developed software called Your Priorities, which you saw briefly in the previous presentation. And the purpose with Your Priorities is to allow people to have real influence and to allow them to find their common priorities, to speak with one voice and organize around ideas and find ideas. And it is open source software. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with what that is, but it's really important in the democratic sense that the software that is used is open source, because that eliminates the possibility or makes it much harder to use software to fake results and to do other things behind the scenes than it was designed or it's been said that it does. But we go one step further, and we also offer free hosting for everybody, so you can go right now if you want to, after you've seen my presentation and sort of seen what it does. You can go to that URL at yrpri.org. And I'll also leave my cards here after I'm finished. And you can create your own groups, e-democracy groups, and start using it in your community, whether it's a community of 20 people or 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. And it's totally free. Now, this is just an overview of some of the projects we've been doing for the last years. I will not go in detail on any of them, just a bit of information. There are I will go into more details on Tuesday, in the Tuesday presentation on some of them. The Ravakogu presentation, the Ravakogu logo there, that was our Estonian project where Estonians used our software to change the laws of their country. The Decent project, which is in 3 countries, is a EU-funded project which has gotten really interesting results in many ways, and also connected us with many good people around the world, mostly in Europe, of course, but not only. And at the top, centered around Iceland, are the 3 projects which have been sort of our mainstay. Better Reykjavík, which I'll talk a bit more about. Betri Hverfi, it says there. It should really say Better Neighborhoods. Actually, it has changed its name once again. So. And Better Iceland, which is a byproduct, and I will go into that more on Tuesday, but not much here. It's a different project. And like I said, I could go into details, but that's not what we're about here. Now, some highlights for your priorities. I won't read everything to you, I know you can read, but we have had lots of visitors to using our software, using our websites. And the most important thing is that it scales well, that is, it works for, like I said, 20, 30, 40 people, but it also works easily for thousands of people participating. So the software scales well, but just to tell you, it's much easier to do smaller projects first to gain confidence of the people that it really is working and it really works well. And it's been used in many other countries than are listed there. I could obviously have added Portugal there, but then I didn't update this. The list would go off the page. So now, one really important thing about your priorities, and I'll show you a screenshot when we get a bit further on, is that the way it's designed is that it eliminates those internet comment system arguments, which I think you've all seen on news websites and Facebook, where someone says something and somebody says, no, you're wrong, and then it goes into, you're an idiot and whatever. This does not happen with your priorities because the way the debate system is designed. It's much closer to a traditional formal debate at meetings where people have the word, but it's not the same, but it's much closer to that. And what that means is that we get rational debate and we get positive points instead of negativity and attacks. And this is obviously really important if we want to work together instead of attacking each other. Especially good people with good intention fighting each other instead of fighting the bigger enemy. And another really interesting point which we didn't realize when we designed it is that it gives the minority views equal weight in the interface. So I'll just show you a screenshot here. This is on purpose in Bulgarian. If someone can read it, that's okay, but the content is not the issue. So what this looks like, what's the pointer? Here it is. So this is an idea that someone put on the Bulgarian website, and I've actually forgotten what the idea is about. But it's about a legal system. I know the icon. And this is the idea, and this is a description of the idea. And here you have the points for it, and here you have the points against it. So even if, like in this case, we have 21 people against it, but 62 people for it, still, the best point against it has the same weight, which does not create consensus, but encourages people to look at the other side, and it makes consensus more likely to happen. And then we have more points for it and more points against it, and the points are sorted by the people that use the website by marking this was useful or this was not useful. So even if you don't agree with this point, it could still have been useful for you. So we're trying to, and it's working, trying to make a more sort of constructed debate system. Now, how your priorities works is that people put in their ideas, and then people support or oppose those ideas, and what we get out of that is a list, prioritized list of all the ideas that have come in. And the best ideas, like it says, are chosen by participants. But what happens also at the same time is that you're getting more educated because you're seeing all kinds of points for and against things, and you're seeing all kinds of ideas. So what happens is that after some time on one of our websites where you have the ideas prioritized, people that don't log in, people that maybe only follow a link on Facebook, get a page that looks like this, and they can see the idea and the best points for and against it at a glance. In just a few minutes, they can maybe change their minds or get a more sort of educated opinion of the issue. Now, to the particular, Better Reykjavík is sort of our most well-known website, our first successful website. And we had a party running in the 2010 elections called the Best Party, and you may have heard of Gunnar, our mayor, which was also mentioned earlier, which was a comedian and an actor, one of our best comedians actually. And he started this party. It was a joke. It was an outcry against what happened, what came out in the crash, and they were a joke party. They had no platform. They were promising to put polar bear in the children's petting zoos and give free towels to everybody at the swimming pool, and all kinds of silly, some funny jokes and some not so funny jokes. And they were polling almost 40% in the polls with no platform. So you can see the situation in Iceland, even though everybody's talking about this as an economic crash, that is not really a problem. Iceland is strange that way. We just work our way out of that. The big problem, which is still going on, and it's not only an Icelandic problem, it's like a global problem, is a trust crash. We don't trust the authorities. And that is the big problem. And that is why they were polling almost 40%, because people thought, well, it's better to get a funny guy than get one of the assholes that can't even do the little bit least right. So what we did is we opened up this website just a few days or a week before the elections and sent out to all the parties that were running and saying, oh, here you have this website and you can use it in any way you want to talk to your people. And the best party jumped on that and they shouted out in every media interview and on their websites, on Facebook, come to Better Reykjavík to tell us what we should do. And it worked really well. We had, you saw the numbers. We had this huge participation, which I think is probably a world record in projects like this, but nobody's counting really. And a lot of those ideas that became part of the policy of the city. Some directly, some were like minor things that still aren't minor because they made the city nicer to be in, even though they didn't change a big policy. Just mention one idea that came from people. They wanted to close the main shopping street in the summer for cars and do it a pedestrian street. And it's like a one-lane, cars moving like this. Well, you guys know this. I have been here like only a short time, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And this has been done now every summer. Not all the street, but more than half of the street. And I hate it in the autumn when they close it down and open it for the cars because it gets horrible again. So it's little things like that, and also bigger things that became a part of the policy. And after the election, the best party was in power with the Social Democrats because it didn't quite reach a majority, and they wanted us to collaborate on Better Reykjavík, and that has been a formal collaboration since then. And we are now working with the city of Reykjavík on how the future of citizens' participation will be. Well, actually, Robert, my colleague, is doing that because I'm thankfully out of those Icelandic bickering, bureaucratic kind of things. I only get to do the fun stuff like come here and talk to you guys. But that work is ongoing. How can we improve? And part of that is our new version of the software, which all the screenshots you're seeing are. Now, this slide maybe shouldn't have been there, but I couldn't throw it out. Because if you guys ever do any project like this, those are the most important lessons that I can tell you about. If you do a project like this, you have to talk back to your citizens. You have to tell them, you have to show them that something is being done with their work. Because if you don't do that, you may have participation in one project, but you will not get those same people participating again. And as any business will tell you, if we don't count the tourist part, the repeat customers are what makes it work ongoing, except, like I said, for the tourist part. But this doesn't handle the tourist part. So this is really important. And the middle point, what we saw in the Better Neighborhoods project, which I'll tell you a bit more about, the AdWords that worked the best were the AdWords that showed people what had been done with their own work the year before. That was what worked every time. Now, we're doing participatory budgeting in Reykjavík. That's a project that used to be called Better Neighborhoods. And we use our software to collect the ideas. And one interesting point is that the ideas from the citizens, they are different from the ideas that come from the authorities. They're not only out of the box, but they're more pertinent to the neighborhood because that's the people that live there, the people that know what needs to be done or what is wrong. And one thing that's quite important to keep in mind is that we do on purpose call our project something to improve. It's Better Reykjavík, it's Better Iceland. It's not what is wrong with Reykjavík, because the framing, how you put the things, are really important as to what content you get and as to what mindset people have. And this is a screenshot of how we put in a new project on the PP, and I won't go through the details, but here the name of the idea, and here you have the point 4, you can also put a location and a photo. And we saw in the this year's the first time that we used a new version to gather the ideas. And we saw that it was really interesting that some of the ideas went viral. That is, people started sharing them on their own, and only ideas that had photos in them went viral. No, not a single idea without a photo went viral. And it didn't really matter what kind of photo. It mattered a bit, but just to have something visual to click on. And this is geeky stuff. I won't go through this here. I should have probably removed this, but just to tell you that the new version is it's made with totally new software design, and it's definitely paid off to create that one. This is a PP that we have been doing in Kópavogur, which is a neighborhood of Reykjavík. And here you can see what happens when people put locations of their ideas. That it's really, really easy to see where the ideas are, and also it's easy to see where there are no ideas coming in. And me and Robert actually worried about for a while why are there no ideas coming in here. And I'll show you that in a few slides. What was the reason for this? And this is the new Better Neighborhoods. It's called My Neighborhood now. And I won't go into details about why the name change was, but people were confusing Better Reykjavík and Better Neighborhoods, and nobody knew exactly what was what. And this is like the different neighborhoods of Reykjavík, and this is from the beginning, so there are no ideas, no content. Should replace this one, actually. And a really important thing with the new version is that it works really well on mobiles. You can do anything on a mobile phone, and that has changed really. We had 12% mobile usage, now we have 42%, and we had a huge amount of increase in the usage. And this is a need to update this, but we've been really, really busy. So this is just from the 2 first days of our participatory budgeting in Reykjavík. And this was sort of the most interesting part, because having something go viral is the holy grail of all e-democracy social media sites that you can get. So this obviously changed as the PP went on, but this is still really impressive numbers for people that have an interest in statistics on websites. And just an overview of the PP of what was called Better Neighborhoods, but is now Your Neighborhood. We have had 2 million euros each year, and I spent on every meeting I had with the city of Reykjavík. They're really happy to get rid of me now. Every meeting I complained, why are we not raising the amount? Why are we not raising the amount? Because not raising the amount with inflation means that the amount was decreasing. So now finally this year, we managed to get it moved up to 3 million euros from 2 million euros. And we won an award. This is just for the record. It was really nice. And the mission of Better Neighborhoods is to improve the city of Reykjavík, but also at the same time to teach people, how budgeting works. Because many people think, well, we can have everything, why don't we have this? And they think, well, the politicians get to decide and they can have everything that they want, which obviously isn't true. And so the interface, just get this first and then I'll show you the interface. This is the process. And it's really simple, and to tell you, this is the same process in every PP that I've ever seen, except that in too many of them, the ideas do not come from the citizens, but from the authorities. Apart from that, it doesn't matter if the PP is electronic or if it's physical. This is not rocket science. Don't let anybody tell you it is, it's not. There are many things that you can fail in doing it, but it's not complicated to do it properly. Mostly you need money and time, as always. And the last point is sometimes forgotten. If this doesn't happen, then something went wrong at some stage. And we get complaints, actually, in the voting phase from people saying the ideas are not interesting enough. I don't want to vote for any of them. And then we say, well, why didn't you put your idea here? If you see what I mean. So this is the Better Neighborhoods website for the city of Reykjavik. And here, I don't think you remember, but I mentioned when I was showing you Kópavogur, which is down here, why there weren't any ideas there. And that shows how well I know my own city, because this wasn't Kópavogur, but Reykjavik. So the ideas were coming in there, and the ideas from, if I would map this on, you would see all this. And then you can easily zoom in, you can go to each neighborhood and see where the ideas are not coming in. And what the city of Reykjavik does with that is that they go into those neighborhoods and into those parts of the neighborhoods that are not putting in ideas, and they go to the shops and put up posters and encourage people here with these days. That's a fact of life. And yeah, after you have skipped that slide probably, yeah. After you just click this really nice vote button here and your vote is in. And actually, you can come again and vote later and change your mind about anything, even the neighborhood that you vote in. And the reason for that is so that someone, your wife or husband or whatever, cannot put you in front of the computer and say you have to vote for this, because then you just do that, and then in the night or the day after, you just go and do a different vote. This is a serious issue, actually. This is called the man with a gun to your head problem. But generally, it wouldn't be that, but just your spouse or whomever. This is probably not that interesting here, but we have done a lot of things to ensure that voting fraud is impossible. And technologically, it's a hard challenge, which people are still working on, but we have circumvented the technological problem by separating the different tasks in totally different entities. So in order to do a fraud there, it would need at least 2 of them to cooperate. And that actually wouldn't work either, because it's more complicated than that. And we've had lots of ideas approved. And I can safely say that all the neighborhoods of Reykjavik have been improved visibly, except that none of the projects are marked. None of them have markers on them saying this came from Better Neighborhoods. And there's another issue I've been complaining about at almost every meeting. And what I did now, and I don't know what will happen, is I put in an idea in the PP for every neighborhood that they should mark the projects that have been done there since before. So it's a bit of civil disobedience on my part. I have strong suspicions that the construction board in Reykjavik will try to throw them out on technicalities, and I'm really looking forward to fighting that, actually. So, like I said, a few examples of ideas that have been done. Those are actually the most nicest one. This is an outdoor class. This looks like a 3D picture, but it's a real photo. And another similar project for chilling out in the open. And this one is really nice as well, because this came from an older person that wanted to be able to go down to the beach. I actually live here. And I have used this ladder a few times, but that's not the most important thing. The idea came from an older person. But the thing is that right behind there, across the road, are 1 school, 3 kindergartens, and this ladder is used all through the year on short trips with the kids down to the ocean. So older people, younger people, not that much different requirements always. And we have been helping others with the PP projects in many countries, most recently now in Spain with Decide Madrid. And what the biggest lesson that we learned from that is that it doesn't matter if it's electronic or if it's not. The same rules, the same things work, the same things don't work. That was the biggest surprise to us, actually, because we thought initially that electronic democracy was much different from other, but it's not. It's just different tools. And the software that we create doesn't create democracy. It just is a tool for people to do their own democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just like an Iceland spring. Okay. So, time for the questions. Perguntas que queiram colocar ao nosso amigo islandês. Faz favor, o seu nome?
O meu nome é Roberto Falanga, Instituto de Ciências Sociais, Universidade de Lisboa. Coloco a pergunta em inglês. I have two questions. The first one is about the platform. I didn't get if this platform is used for both general proposals and participatory budgeting and better neighborhoods.
Sorry, I wasn't clear on this. This is something I need to fix in the presentation. One, we have two software platforms.
Two.
One is the Your Priorities platform, which most of the screenshots you saw were from. The other is called Open Active Voting, and that is the one that looks really different, which is this one, and that is really simple, only for electronic voting, and it's a totally different platform.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that question and giving me a chance to clarify that.
But this second platform is for the participatory budgeting, right?
Yes, for the participatory budgeting, both are used.
Also the first
one? This one is used to collect the ideas, and so you can see all the ideas coming in here.
For participatory budgeting, but not only?
But like for the, this here, this is Your Priorities used for submitting the ideas.
Okay.
And then the City of Reykjavik evaluates them, and then the other one is used for voting on the ideas.
The second question is about budgeting. You showed a slide, it was one of the last slides.
Oh, not this one.
No, it was about the pedagogic function of, that one.
This one.
This one.
Yeah.
The number that you have on your right, on the right column, is the part of budget for each citizen. I mean,
no,
when you say
this is in Icelandic millions, and this is the amount that it would cost to do this project.
The total amount?
Yes.
Okay.
So what it happens is that you have your own personal budget, but it is the same as the global budget for the. I'm trying to.
Okay. I thought that the total budget was divided.
No. The total budget. What it comes out is that everybody votes for the project that they want to have become reality. And then those votes are all taken together, and then you find out how many votes each project got.
Yeah.
So this is like telling people, okay, if you want this project, then it's going to cost 15 millions or 8.5 millions out of the 19 millions that are for this neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Just one. I think two small questions, it's details about this. How do you define the overall budget for each citizen to work with, to choose, the 27 million? How do you do that amount? Why not 30 or 25? How do you do that math? And the other one, it's
let me answer the first one, because I'm a bit dehydrated. I forgot to drink yesterday, so I would have talked much faster. So you're probably thankful.
Please drink some water first.
I have been drinking so much water this morning, and I'm feeling much better. But the way that it works is that, like I was saying earlier, is that each project costs this much, and each neighborhood gets divided. The total money, which is, where was it? Here. So the total money for the PP is 450 million this year.
Okay.
And there are 10 neighborhoods in Reykjavik, and the method used to divide the money is that each neighborhood first gets the same amount. And then on top of that, they get an amount that's proportionate to how many people live in that neighborhood. So the smaller neighborhoods get less money, but they still get enough money to do something that's worth doing.
Okay, it's a basis, and on top of that, it's proportional to the number of citizens in the community, in the neighborhood.
Exactly. Okay. And this is what we have seen other people have been doing without consulting with us, and I think this is the easiest and fairest way to do this.
Okay.
If you would only have it based on the population, then the smallest neighborhood in Reykjavik, it would not be worth even logging in to do anything. So.
Okay. And the second question, it's also about this. is how do you define for each idea the budget?
Yeah,
You
that's
have,
that's the most problematic
a
part
project and how that if that works
yeah.
afterwards in the construction or implementation of that project idea afterwards.
What happens here, and this is something that I would really like to crowdsource, that I would really love to do with the people, but that's more complicated than the other parts. What happens in Reykjavik and in Kópavogur as well and in Madrid as well, is that the authorities, in Reykjavik, it's the Reykjavik Construction Board, they go through all the ideas and evaluate how much it would cost to do them. And in the process, they throw out all the ideas that are too expensive, that don't fit at all into the budget. And they actually also throw out ideas that they don't think should be there for different reasons. And in the first PP, there was a problem because they threw out ideas just because they didn't like them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yes. And this actually needs either to be crowdsourced, how you do it, or as an interim effort to have crowdsourcing monitoring of what the construction board are doing. Actually, what has happened is that we at the Citizen Foundation, we see us as the intermediaries between the people and the authorities. And we have been pushing on the city of Reykjavik that this is not acceptable, because there have been really good ideas in the past thrown out with no explanations. And it is getting better every year. And actually this year, the construction board has been on the meetings and active, and they really want to do this well. And we changed the system so they had more time to do this. Because this was a really huge drain on the resources to, like, just for a month, they were working like overtime into like 10 o'clock in the evening every day in order to be able to do it. And then obviously a temptation to throw out stuff. What? And just, it's so hard to stand against, if you see what I mean. So I have faith in that improving, but I still want to do it with the people monitoring as well.
Okay, just one,
sure.
one idea to finish. How, is there any link between the citizens or the group of the community that propose an idea that it's going to be voted and then probably or not could be implemented? They participate on the process afterwards of contributing with the idea, or they are just participating on the idea itself and then it's other scheme to do it?
For simplicity, and it has been in the past that they have just been active in the beginning. What has been happened since then is we've been pressuring the city of Reykjavik to, for every idea, there should be an evaluation put in on the website. And when you do that, everybody that interacted with the idea, supported it, opposed it, put in points for, doesn't matter, get an email saying why there was a yes or a no to having this idea go onwards into the PP. So at least the information flow has been getting better to the people. And now we have been talking with the city of Reykjavik that we really want to call in the people that have the idea originally, or even the people that supported it and opposed it, and call them in to physical meetings and saying, here, we need to discuss this, we want to know how you want to do this. Okay. But obviously the logistics of that are quite a bit more complicated. It could not happen this year, but we have hopes that it might be done next year.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Gunnar.
Thank you.
Thank you.